The death of the Pope sets in motion a complex series of customs governed by ancient and elaborate rituals. Fine details from how the funeral is conducted to how his successor is chosen follow a strict set of rules and are executed by the highest order of the Catholic Church. Some traditions date back to the time of Jesus Christ, who is said to have selected the Apostle Peter, a lineage that's since been passed down through every pope. This period breaks down into four main parts: the death of the Pope, the funeral, the conclave, and the inauguration and installation. Pope Francis himself updated these rules in 2023, the changes reflecting his belief that the funeral of the Roman pontiff is that of a pastor and a disciple of Christ, rather than that of a worldly figure of power. It begins with the confirmation of his death, a task for the Cardinal Camerlengo, that's Italian for Chamberlain Cardinal, who oversees the transition process. In keeping with custom, the Camerlengo called out the Pope's baptismal name 3 times. With no response, he declared, "Vere Papa mortus est," the Pope is truly dead. The Camerlengo then sealed the apartments, a custom originally designed to prevent looting. He does so in the presence of his deputy. These seals won't be removed until a new pope is elected. This marks the beginning of what's known as sede vacante, the time when the papal office is vacant. The Camerlengo assumes control of the Vatican until a new leader is elected. Anything that requires papal assent during this period is submitted to the College of Cardinals for approval. The emblem, featuring the papal tiara over 2 keys crossed over each other, is temporarily modified, instead featuring an umbraculum, or umbrella, signalling a caretaker period. This time is also known as the interregnum. It's at this point that the Pope's death certificate is drawn up and the news is shared with church staff and then the world. The bells of St. Peter's Basilica toll, 1 ring for each year the Pope lived. In the presence of the sacred College of Cardinals, the Camerlengo removes and destroys the Pope's ring that was presented to him at his inauguration. It's known as the Fisherman's Ring, and it bears the Pope's personal seal. This moment symbolises the end of his authority. After the Pope's death, 9 days of mourning are observed. These are referred to by their Latin name, Novem Diales. A prayer of petition called the Litany of Saints is chanted as the Pope's body is taken to St. Peter's Basilica. Mass is held daily to celebrate his life. Pope Francis opted for simpler rituals in this period, more in line with the structure of the basic Roman Missal, to highlight his role as pastor rather than pope. His body lies in an open coffin, not the customary catafalque, again a decision by Pope Francis himself to be commemorated with dignity, but like any other Christian. Over the Novem Diales, it's expected that more than 1 million mourners will arrive in Rome and visit the Vatican to pay their respects in funeral masses held in the square of St. Peter's. Within 4 to 6 days of his death, the Pope is buried in a coffin made of wood and zinc. This also marks Pope Francis's desire to depart from tradition, which would have historically seen the coffin being enclosed in 2 larger ornate sarcophagi. Buried with him, a copy of the funeral program, along with bags of silver, gold and copper coins, the number of coins in each bag reflecting the number of years he served as Pope. Beneath St. Peter's Basilica is a labyrinth of underground tombs where more than 90 popes have been laid to rest, including the very first pope, Jesus' disciple Peter. Pope Francis, however, has elected the Basilica of St. Mary Maggiore in Rome as the location for his tomb, making him the first pope to be buried there since 1669. Throughout this period, cardinals draped in scarlet red vestments travel to the Vatican from around the world. Each appears wearing a ceremonial cassock or gown, mozzetta or shoulder cape, and biretta, a square hat. Together, these cardinals are the most senior Catholics in each of their countries. It's members of this group whose duty it'll be to vote for the next pope in a formal assembly known as the conclave. This process can begin no sooner than 15 days after the death of the pope. The Sacred College of Cardinals has 255 members, but not all of them are entitled to vote. There are rules guiding the electoral process. No more than 120 cardinals are entitled to cast a vote for the new pope. This group is chosen by seniority and age. Those over the age of 80 become ineligible to participate. The voting rules also stipulate that cardinals should come from all parts of the world and from very different cultures. And most importantly, a 2/3 majority is needed for a pope to be elected. Historically, the selection of a new pope can take anywhere from days to years. The longest, more than 7 centuries ago, took nearly 3 years, from 1268 to 1271, resulting in the election of Pope Gregory X. It was he who put into law the Ubi Periculum, a charter or set of rules for electing a pope. His most important change was to ban cardinal electors from contact with the outside world until a new pope is chosen. And to this day, radios and TVs are removed, no newspapers or magazines are allowed in, and all phones are banned during the election process. Before the conclave begins, a stove and chimney are set up inside the Sistine Chapel. The chapel is swept for covert listening and recording devices. Jamming mechanisms are installed to block electronic communications. Throughout the vote, cardinals stay in the Domus Sanctae Martyr, the same building that housed Pope Francis. The cardinals eat, sleep and vote in the sealed areas of the building until a new leader is chosen. The cardinals are escorted through the Pauline Chapel and then to the Sistine Chapel. The conclave was first held here in 1492, and it's been the permanent location of the conclave since 1878, symbolically beneath Michelangelo's fresco of the Last Judgment. The cardinals swear an oath of secrecy, vowing not to share any details of the vote both during and after the conclave. Accompanying the cardinal electors entering the conclave are a select group of senior Vatican officials, along with 2 doctors and 2 technical experts. The voting then begins. Each elector is handed a rectangular ballot sheet, printed with a Latin phrase translating to "I choose as Supreme Pontifex," and a space to name their nominee. Each vote is secret. Technically, any baptised male can be elected pope, but the last time cardinals reached outside their ranks was in 1378, when they chose Pope Urban VI. The folded ballot paper is placed on a gilded plate and then slid into an urn. On the first day of the conclave, 1 round of voting is held in the afternoon. On each subsequent day, 4 votes will take place, 2 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon. Immediately after each count, the ballots and all related notes are burned. To the world outside, watching keenly, a declaration of the outcome is signalled with a puff of smoke from the flames of the burning ballot papers. The smoke is funnelled up the chimney and out of the roof, giving the crowds assembled in St. Peter's Square a signal of how the voting has gone. If no one has been elected, the smoke appears black. If a new pope has been chosen, the smoke is white. In years past, wet and dry straw were mixed with the ballot papers to produce the black or white smoke. These days, a chemical dye is added to remove any ambiguity about the colour of the smoke. Once a pope has been chosen, the Dean of the Cardinals will formally ask him to accept his election. He will also ask the incoming pope what name he wishes to assume. Traditionally, he would pick a name of a previous pope or a pope he wishes to emulate. The new pope is then taken into a side room to change out of the red vestments of his cardinalship and into the white vestments of the papacy. Within the hour, heavy red drapes over the windows are drawn aside and the balcony doors swing open. The senior cardinal deacon emerges onto the central balcony of St. Peter's to declare, "Habemus Papam," we have a pope. The new pope, wearing pontifical white, then appears on the same balcony. He gives his first blessing as supreme pontiff, ending with the words, "Urbi et Orbi," to the city and the world. This declaration concludes the papal conclave, which the Pope usually disbands after addressing the body of cardinals. The final series of events, the installation and inauguration of the new Pope, usually takes place a few days later on a date chosen by the new pontiff. The inauguration is celebrated with Mass at St. Peter's Square. The cardinals bestow the new pope with a pallium, a long woven wool vestment worn around the neck, symbolic of the pope's role as shepherd of his church. He's also presented with a newly cast Ring of the Fisherman, featuring a signet of Peter, a reference to Jesus' charge that his disciple should be a fisher of men. This is the ring customarily kissed by papal guests in devotion to the Church and his authority. The traditions and belief by which one pope is farewelled and another is installed span more than 2,000 years, a rare and captivating cultural practice that binds the world's 1.3 billion Catholics. In him, they have a new authority of the doctrine, a spiritual guide, and a unifier of the faith.
Be an evangelist by sharing to others to be blessed. And then subscribe to this channel for us, because we have loads of videos, we have loads of content that is going to make you blessed, that is going to set you on course, that is going to set you ablaze. And don't